What's up? What's up? It's Faraz. It's Zach. We're going to go into our week 11 wide receiver rankings, tight end rankings. Zach, how's it going, man? I'm not doing so great, but how you doing?
I'm doing good. It was a busy morning, but every morning in the week is busy. I don't know. You said that you were pretty busy last night.
I was busy last night. wife, my wife and I went out last night, and we don't go out too often without the kids. We got some babysitting. We went out, had some dinner, some drinks, and we got a little carried away. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not feeling 100% this morning, but I'm gonna power through, Zach. I'm gonna power
The
through. I'm
show
gonna try to
must
hold
go
it
on.
together. The show must go on, and I think we got this.
Yeah, it's a weird week, a really weird week for tight ends and receivers.
It is a lot of injuries, a lot of players on bye as well. 4 teams on bye, so these rankings do look funny. I thought it was me and just my condition that why these rankings were looking so weird, and then Zach went over it and he was like, "No, these look relatively okay."
Relatively,
but anyway, relatively, yeah. All right, let's get into last night's game, dude. I got a chance to catch it. Christian Watson showing out, dude. He's now caught 5 touchdowns in 5 days, and they're running him. They're running plays for him in the red zone. Aaron Rodgers is trusting him, right? As you saw in that first touchdown of the game where, Watson just bodied his defender, right? It wasn't all about the speed on that one.
Yep.
And he finished with 6 targets, caught 4 of 48, and those 2 touchdowns. But Allen Lazard is the one who had the most targets in this game with 11 for a 30% target share and went 5 for 57 on those 11 targets. So it seems to me like both of these guys are going to be pretty viable moving forward. It's going to be very hard for me not to rank Christian Watson as a top 24. Did I have him ranked as the top 24 this week? I think I did.
I think you did. I think you had him at 20. Was it 20 even or 21?
What did I have him? I had 22. 22. Right. Yeah, so I had him at the top 24 this week. But, moving forward, it's going to be hard for me not to rank him as a top 20, top 24 wide receiver, right?
Yeah. I think he's going to keep, just kind of falling in that range. You look at Allen Lazard, he got a lot of targets, but he only caught 5 for 57 yards. Christian Watson's obviously a much better talent. I'd bet on him, as the receiver with the upside in this offense. Christian Watson's a guy that I would be having higher in the rankings than even Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard got a bunch of targets, but I don't think that he has, the talent, obviously, of Christian Watson. So I think that Christian Watson has kind of separated himself head and shoulders above the rest of the receivers in that offense in terms of, what he can do with the ball in his hands. Whether he gets the volume, it remains to be seen. It's been 2 weeks. He's gotten some good volume these past few weeks. But Allen Lazard is still going to be a problem for him. And it's going to prevent him from getting that high target share week to week. But as long as he's getting, like you said, like he got last night and the week before, 6 targets, 7 targets a game, he should be a threat to score at least once or twice. Just the way that he plays.
And I do think that, he did show the 40% target share upside last week on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I think it is possible that he can, have other games where he's leading the team in targets. So it's not just, it's not just this week where all right, well, he had a low target share. Will it bounce back? That's the question. We only have a 2-game sample size within a matter of 5 days of each other. So we'll see what ends up happening. But for now, man, if you picked up Christian Watson on the waiver wire this week, you're pretty happy, assuming that you did start him.
Immediate returns from Christian Watson, which is exactly what you love to see.
Exactly. A lot of people have been asking me this morning, whether we should be selling Christian Watson after these 2 performances. I'm not overly looking to sell him or anything. If you do trade him, you better get something really good. I need high-end options if I'm trading Christian Watson because he has league winner written all over him.
Yeah,
doesn't he?
Yeah, he's jumped. In terms of his fantasy value at this point, he's jumped into top 24 type value. Wide receiver 2. I think that's where he could be, as long as he's healthy.
With the game, and I wouldn't even trade him for another top 24 guy.
No,
because the upside is wide receiver 1, right? His upside is top 12, and you
look at guys in that wide receiver 2 range, like a Deebo Samuel, something like that. I forget who else would fall in that range.
I wouldn't even trade him for
like a DK Metcalf or a Tyler Lockett. you wouldn't take them over Christian Watson right now, the way he's playing. Obviously it's only been 2 weeks. It's funny that we're talking about him already this highly, but he's emerged in this offense as, the wide receiver one that Aaron Rodgers needs. And he's been viable, for 2 weeks in a row now. It looks like he's going to be a big part of the offense and a cog in this offense the rest of the way.
I agree, man. So yeah, and Aaron Rodgers, he's looking like somebody you can start as well moving forward. He was not somebody that I was looking to start at all, but these 2 weeks he's got done, and he has a couple weapons now, and Lazard and Watson, and even Randall Cobb ended up getting some targets. So it's looking like, Rodgers is going to be a lot more viable as well.
Yeah, that was a good call on your part. I know you had him. You said we had him ranked as a QB10 this week. And you actually mentioned him as the low end QB1. I know we put a post on that yesterday.
Yeah.
So that was a good call. I mean, this Titans defense is tough, and he showed up anyway. So Aaron Rodgers, he might have some value for you the rest of the season.
I think so. Ryan Tannehill had a 300-yard passing game out of nowhere. This offense is so weird.
Yep.
But Treylon Burks, man, 7 of 8 targets. Caught 7 of 8 targets for 111 yards. He was on our waiver wire list last week. And I asked you guys politely in yesterday's podcast to pick him up if he was available in your league before the game. And now he's still available in over 60% of sleeper leagues. And he's going to cost quite a bit of fab, on Tuesday. So he's going to be a pretty hot waiver ad this week. 30% target share for him, very, very solid. And this is great for his dynasty outlook as well.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Treylon Burks, if you saw his first catch of the night, I think it was on the 3rd play from scrimmage, was it? Maybe I'm wrong, 2nd play, but a massive 45-yard gain. Is that what it was? Or 40, was it 53-yard game? 43, something like that. Over 40-yard completion, first thing right off the bat. And he looked good the rest of the night. He got plenty of targets, both, short and deep. He looks really good. This is what we kind of figured would be the case, with these receivers in Tennessee, that he has the highest upside of any of them. Robert Woods got some looks, but he was pretty much just solid for the night. I'm not expecting that type of production to continue with any guys besides Treylon Burks. If Treylon Burks caught a touchdown last night, we'd be having a really big conversation about him. Obviously no touchdown resulted, but Treylon Burks, he looks like he's going to be able to be a fantasy contributor down the stretch. We thought that no Titans receivers would be relevant, but like you said, this is a weird offense. Ryan Tannehill suddenly throwing for 300 yards. Derrick Henry was throwing passes last night. It's just, who knows what's going on with this Titans offense. It's just whatever's working at a given time. This week, it just happened to be the receivers. And Treylon Burks, if he can, kind of just use his performance as a springboard to move this offense more in the direction of the passing game, that would be good news for him. I think they could do that now that they see, maybe you can throw to your receivers after all.
Look at these top receivers coming out of this draft, right?
Yep.
Treylon Burks, he looks like he's good. Garrett Wilson looks like he's pretty good. Chris Olave looks like he's pretty good. Drake London looks like he's really good. Who am I missing?
Christian Watson.
Looking
he looks like
good.
He's pretty good. Yeah. I forget.
And like Jameson Williams, we'll see what happens with him.
That's what we're missing.
He'll be back at the end of the year. But I'm assuming he's going to be pretty damn good too.
Yeah, he's going to add. It's going to be tough to evaluate him because he will be on the Lions, but he's going to add a nice new dimension in that offense. They don't have a whole lot of speed at receiver outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah. Remember we were talking about Mecole Hardman's illness to his abdomen yesterday?
Yeah.
Well, he was placed on IR because of it. He's going to miss the next 4 games, and it's looking like that would be good news for Kadarius Toney to get some more opportunity going forward.
Yeah, it could be. I think that Kadarius Toney, we talked about him, even with Mecole Hardman being part of the offense, I was kind of, pegging Kadarius Toney, the guy that's going to get more work and be a large part of this offense moving forward, just because I think he might be the most talented receiver right there in that offense right now, outside of Travis Kelce, of course. And like I said, he reminds me of Tyreek Hill, the way he plays, the twitch that he has. I think that he could take over that role and kind of bring Patrick Mahomes back to those Tyreek Hill days and have some huge games. He was one of my high priority targets on the waiver wire. I know we talked about it on our waiver wire episode. I actually said the top 3 receivers were my priority, even over the running backs that were available, Isaiah Pacheco, those guys. So I have high hopes for Kadarius Toney. I think that he's going to come through for you, especially, maybe even in a Christian Watson-esque way in terms of being a league winner. I didn't think that he was going to make his way off New York's roster this season, but he did. He landed in a good spot, and with Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball, anything's possible. He's going to be just fine. Juju's might be a little bit banged up too, so that could help.
Yeah,
his prospects
he's still in the
as well.
concussion protocol, and he hasn't practiced yet. So that's not great. It doesn't look like he's going to play.
No.
Did Juju even get a limited practice in on Friday? I'm sorry, on Thursday. No, he's yet to practice this week. So yeah, no, it looks like he's not going to play this week. So he would need a limited and a full in order to be able to play. That's how the concussion protocols have been working. So Juju's likely going to be out. So if you have Juju, most likely you're not going to be able to play him this week. I would find another option. And because of that, yeah, exactly. Kadarius Toney is a damn good play this week. I think I have him as a top 24 option as well this week. And one of the reasons why I like Mecole Hardman, like if Mecole Hardman's out, and I agree with you, I think Kadarius Toney would have got his regardless of Mecole Hardman and might have like leapt to the top of this depth chart without, regardless.
Yeah.
But what I do like about it is if you notice what Andy Reid does is like he has like packages for certain players. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And like regardless, like around the red zone, like he'll have packages for like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right? Or like he'll have packages for Mecole Hardman. Yeah, no, he had no packages for him.
Nope.
No, that's it. Yeah, and like Mecole Hardman near the red zone, right? Like on those type of plays now, those packages are going to go to Mecole Hardman. I'm sorry, go to Kadarius Toney, in addition to whatever they had planned for Kadarius Toney, like in these few games, right? So that's why I think that it's good news for him, just because like those like what you call money touches, like I can see that him getting more money touches, without Mecole Hardman there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both practiced, limited practices. It seems like they might play.
Yeah,
like that's what it seems like to me.
That would be pretty cool. I mean, we can get your hopes up a little bit.
I saw somebody tweet, I think it was one of the Chargers beat reporters tweeted that like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen have only been on the field together for like 7% of their total plays or something like that. Something like super small.
I would have guessed like less.
Yeah, I know, right? It does seem like it would be less. But yeah, like both these guys could potentially play this week. I'm proceeding with caution with these guys, especially Keenan Allen. Given that it's a soft tissue injury. What was Mike Williams' injury? That was a high ankle sprain, right?
It was a high ankle sprain,
yeah. I'm surprised he's back this soon, to be honest. Am I right wrong about
How many weeks has he missed? Let me see. He missed the bye in week 8.
Four?
He missed the bye in week 8. Then he missed 9, 10. That's a 3-week recovery. I mean, if he's practicing,
seems pretty fast.
That's like a minor high ankle sprain. Is there such a thing? That is
so
fast.
He missed. So he it happened in week 7, right? So week 8, 9, 10, 11. That'll be 4 weeks to come back. They say 4 to 6 weeks for a high ankle sprain. So this would be week number 4. So I guess it's in the early window, right, of that. So I guess that's not bad. And plus, they did avoid putting him on IR, short-term IR, right? Like they could have done that, and they didn't, right? Like I don't think they put him on IR. So
no,
I think they even from the beginning they thought that it's possible that he would be back, within 4 weeks. So I guess that makes sense, and he doesn't have to miss that 4th game, because I think if you put your player on IR, it's not 4 weeks, it's 4 games, and they had the bye in between.
Yeah,
so that makes sense. So Mike Williams, I would be like, let's say both these guys play. I think I would prefer to play Mike Williams.
Yeah, but I think it would have to be that way.
Mike Williams is like he's a little bit of a tough matchup on that left side. Like, it's fine because like he can come through, especially without Keenan Allen. So I'm not worried about it. But where would you have him? Like, and we'll talk about it. I think I have him here in this top 30. So
yeah,
we'll talk about it later. But like, it's a little bit iffy for me with both these guys, especially Keenan Allen. If I have another option, I might choose to sit Keenan Allen this week, despite this being such a good matchup.
Yeah. Of course, these two are also playing Sunday night, so you're going to be short on options if you wait and then they get ruled out. So that is kind of making me, as much as I want to see them both on the field again and playing with Justin Herbert, against the Chiefs, that would be awesome. They tend to be high-scoring games. I, as not as a fantasy manager, but just maybe a fantasy manager, yeah, I might want to see them sit and just get healthy, make sure they're 100% right, so that they can come back for the rest of the season and look good. If it came down to it, if they play, I think I'd be tempering expectations. I think I would start them, if they play. You're probably going to have to.
What would you start them as?
I wouldn't start them as wide receiver 1. I wouldn't expect wide receiver 1 numbers from either of them. I think
wide receiver 3?
Mid to low end wide receiver 2 would be maybe
Really?
the ceiling for them.
Okay.
Low end wide receiver.
I would play them as a
both
wide
of them.
receiver 3, I think.
All right.
I would say. Because that's how much caution that I have. Like, okay, so let's just pull this up real quick. I have the rankings up here. So I have them at 27 and 28. So that's high end wide receiver 3. Something like that's high end wide receiver 3. So the guys I'm playing DJ Moore ahead. Like, are you playing DJ Moore ahead of him? I don't think you are.
No, I think I would.
I
think I would start Mike Williams and Keenan Allen over Darnell Mooney. Although I would move.
I love Mooney's matchup. Gabe Davis, they're playing in Detroit now, by the way, guys.
Yeah, that's oh my god, what a blessing that is, man.
Yeah,
I got
Amari
Cooper and Gabe Davis. Yeah,
Stephon Diggs, like, you're happy, man. Like, you're happy that this game got moved to Detroit
because it's now just a standard fantasy matchup. You don't have to worry about any weather. But
what's going to happen with Amari Cooper? Is Amari Cooper?
That's what we talked about. It's not a home game. It's not an away game. It's a neutral site. What's he going to do? Is he going to put up 0? Is he going to put up 100? What's he
going to bomb?
I don't know. We'll see. I think he has a better chance. He has a better chance of performing, in Detroit than he does in 6 feet of snow. So
I agree. All right. And we'll get into the rankings. We'll talk more about Keenan Allen in a second. Okay. So I'm just going down like this news to see if there's anything else to talk about. Devontae Smith continues to be limited with that knee injury, but it seems like he's going to play. What else? AJ Brown is also limited, but it seems like he's going to play. I'm just scrolling through. Sorry, guys.
Heard besides the game getting moved, and we just mentioned that.
Yeah, the game's getting moved to Detroit, so you know that. Nico Collins is practicing in full. DeAndre Swift is practicing in full. What does that mean? What does that mean? If DeAndre Swift is practicing in full, what does it mean? I don't know. What that means.
He better get more touches this week. Like I said, I'm hitting the panic button on DeAndre Swift after this week if he gets 6 touches again.
Someone to keep an eye on. Isaiah McKenzie is battling an illness, and if he doesn't play, if you're desperate at wide receiver, you might want to be desperate with Khalil Shakir.
Yeah.
It didn't sound right, but you know what I mean.
He if I'm not mistaken, didn't he get like the first catch of the game last week? I mean, he was on the field. I forget. I'm not exactly sure if that's how
Khalil Shakir?
Yeah, Khalil Shakir.
I don't know. I didn't catch that.
I remember seeing that immediately. Like, okay, who's Josh Allen throwing to immediately? I think it was Khalil Shakir. So it's like, okay,
that's interesting. And then he proceeded to play like 11 snaps after that.
Yeah, no, they have all these wide receivers. You just can't have that many wide receivers on the field at the same time. I think Khalil Shakir could play on a lot of other teams. Be starting. So
Jerry Judy's still not practicing. So he's probably not going to play. Courtland Sutton. They have a bunch of wide receiver injuries, to be honest. So Courtland Sutton is looking like he's going to be a decent play this week, a wide receiver 2 play this week.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford. What's that?
That would maybe be his ceiling. It's a wasteland in Denver.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say Courtland Sutton has a wide receiver 1 ceiling this week.
All right. Just because you said that to make me look bad, he's going to go off.
If he that's what I do. He's going to okay.
You know what? For us, speak it into existence. I have him on my team.
Here. Oh, do you? Okay, perfect. There you go. Courtland Sutton, 6 for 77 and a touchdown.
That's your prediction?
Boom.
Right. That would be cool. I would like that very much. Although last week, did you see the blurb that came up for his stat line last week? I think Fantasy Pros put up a devilish stat line as 6 for 66.
I didn't realize that was his stat line. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's terrible. That is bad luck for this week.
Yeah.
The Mark Andrews situation is weird to me. He's not practicing in the media portion, so it's like they don't want the media to see him practice, but over the last 2 days that's happened. So the media doesn't see him there, but then when the media leaves, he comes out and he practices, and they're labeling him in a limited fashion. They asked him yesterday, hey, are you going to play? And he's like, I really want to play, but you never know. So there's a good chance that he doesn't play this week.
Yeah.
And if you have Isaiah Likely, I would pick him up. If you don't have him, I'll pick him up, and I'll play him if Mark Andrews doesn't play. But it doesn't seem too optimistic to me.
No. I don't think that Mark Andrews would play if like the mysteriousness around him has been
super
way
mysterious.
It's been, these last few weeks. You think, if you're planning to play him, you want, the media to know. I'm not sure. Maybe they just don't want people to know what their game plan is. They don't want anybody game planning for Mark Andrews. But in terms of fantasy impact, I think if Mark Andrews doesn't play, I'm just replacing Mark Andrews with Isaiah Likely in the rankings. Like he's going to be it's the exact same thing for me. Even though Isaiah Likely, he only had one catch, last week. It was a touchdown. I wasn't fazed by that. He's a tight end.
It was a tough matchup too.
Yeah. He's going to be just fine. I would put, if Mark Andrews doesn't play, Isaiah Likely's going to slide right in where Mark Andrews is in any rankings that I would.
Are you playing him over TJ Hawkinson?
Yes.
Okay. So Travis Kelce and then Isaiah Likely for you. Got it. Okay.
That's what it'd be.
Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and get into our wide receiver rankings. Let's do it. I think we got a lot of news in. Justin Jefferson at number 1. Of
Any
course.
Questions?
Right. Exactly. No questions there. Stephon Diggs at number 2. This was easy now. They're playing in Detroit. Points happen to be scored in Detroit. So hopefully they get some of that, some of that special juice in Detroit, and this is a high scoring game, and this is a decent matchup for Diggs. So I love it. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I have him at 3 here against the Giants. We saw the massive target share over the past couple weeks. There's a touchdown waiting to happen, 2 touchdowns waiting to happen. He's due. And it's going to happen. We have a couple, injuries and buys and stuff. So this is an interesting one. He's at 3. I have AJ Brown at number 4, and then CeeDee Lamb at 5. And the reason why, and I love CeeDee Lamb this week, by the way, against Minnesota, that slot, he runs most of his routes out of the slot. Minnesota's slot defense is one of the worst in the NFL. So he has a chance to go off once again. And I'm hoping, and, Minnesota, also has a good chance, even though Dallas' defense is pretty good. This game is in Minnesota. Is a good chance they can put up some points, despite them going up against a tough offense. So this might be a high-scoring game, and I'm loving CeeDee this week.
I think it's absolutely going to be a high-scoring game. And I can talk about Cowboys. Don't take it because I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm talking highly of these offenses, but I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game. I would maybe put CeeDee Lamb over AJ Brown with his injury situation. I'm not sure what that's going to be, if it's going to hold him back at all. But I would maybe put CeeDee Lamb up there, and it would be close for Amon-Ra St. Brown. But Dallas does have other weapons, obviously, in their offense.
That's what it is for me too. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, we saw a game where Dak, gave CeeDee that huge target share, but will it go back to a little bit more distribution?
Yeah, we hadn't up until last week seen Dak dial in on CeeDee Lamb like that, in his career. So we love to see that. I think that can continue, and I'd love to see it continue, not just as a Cowboys fan, but as a fantasy football player. That's what you want to see. But they still have Zeke. Zeke's going to be coming back. So that's one thing. They might go more towards the ground attack. Tony Pollard's going to be there. Michael Gallup, he gets targeted a lot. And Dalton Schultz, he doesn't do much with it when he catches it, but he gets targets really reliably when Dak Prescott's playing. So that's what it is for me. I think CeeDee Lamb has a higher ceiling than AJ Brown this week, just because of the matchup. And like I said, AJ Brown's a little bit dinged up. AJ Brown's going to do his thing regardless, as long as he's playing. But I think CeeDee Lamb would be in consideration. The
reason why I have AJ Brown at 4 is because of the Dallas Goedert injury, and I just think that rest of season now, the targets are going to be so dialed in to AJ Brown that he's going to potentially go off rest of season. And but I think you bring up a good point with him with that ankle, being a little bit banged up. But I think once you're in the game, once that adrenaline kicks in, especially if it's just a low ankle sprain, he's going to be fine. He's a beast. I could totally see ranking CeeDee at 4 and AJ at 5. Obviously starting both. Now Devontae Adams is at 6 and DeAndre Hopkins is at 7, and the reason for that is because these are 2 tough matchups. Adams, going up against Denver, they're one of the best defenses against the pass, against wide receivers. They don't let wide receivers have great games. So obviously you're still starting him, and he can still have a good game because he's Devontae Adams. Yeah. So you're not sitting him or anything like that. For all the newbies for fantasy football, if you're listening, you're like, well, should I sit him? No. We don't do that. You start your studs. Okay. This is just for any new people, listen to the show, get into fantasy football for the first time. But Devontae Adams, tough matchup, but you're playing him regardless. And then DeAndre Hopkins, on that left side is where he lines up most of the time, almost all the time. And San Francisco has been absolutely stout on that side, not giving up any fantasy points on that side. So tough matchup for Hopkins, but you're still starting him.
Yeah. Devontae Adams, I hate the matchup, especially the way Derek Carr plays. I think that he could get flustered by this defense pretty easily. I don't know if Pat Surtain's going to shadow Devontae Adams. certainly capable of doing that, and that could make it a tough outing. Where we're not going to see the extreme upside that Devontae Adams has this week. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I think that his ranking at 6 is justified behind guys like CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown. But DeAndre Hopkins, he could be without Kyler Murray still this week. So that's kind of, I think it makes sense to have him at 7. I'm pumping the brakes on him, especially if it's Colt McCoy going against San Francisco, or worse, Trace McSorley. And not to take a dump on Trace McSorley, but I just think that with a third string quarterback against a good San Francisco defense, DeAndre Hopkins could have his first quiet outing of the season.
Terry McLaurin, I have him at 8. You were surprised by that one.
Yes.
What's up, Jordan? Surprised. What's up, Elias? I'm just saying what's up to people in the chat here. Terry McLaurin, you were surprised about that one. And, just this is really just based on, these other receivers behind him and the fact that he has been hyper targeted over the last couple of weeks, man. Like it's no joke. His target share has gone up each of the last 4 weeks. As long as Taylor Heineke is the quarterback, he is being targeted, and he's been having good games. 3 of his last 4 games, he's been balling. So, and this matchup too, like against Houston, I think that there's nobody in this secondary who's really going to be able to stop Terry. So I'm all about him in this matchup.
Yeah, I guess you could, point towards a matchup and say that Terry McLaurin could have a good day. He could. Derek Stingley would be the only guy in Houston secondary that I would think, okay, maybe could give him some trouble, but he's allowed a lot of yards. He hasn't allowed touchdowns.
He's likely going to shadow him, and he's been giving up a ton of fantasy points per route run against him. So I'm not worried about the matchup. I'm hoping for a shadow.
For me, with Derek Stingley, the interesting statistic is, he allows a lot of yards, but he hasn't allowed a touchdown yet. Right. Over 300 coverage snaps. So I'm not saying that, Terry McLaurin, well, you can't put him down for a touchdown. He's not going to score. I don't think.
Especially given what he did to Darius Slay last week.
Yeah, it's not going to be an absolute shadow, even if it is something like that with Derek Stingley. They're going to have to move guys around because Jahan Dotson, he's going to be playing, I think, right? He came back quietly last week, but he's a talented receiver. And Curtis Samuel's going to be there too, right? Or is he still questionable?
No, even if he is there, Curtis Samuel has gotten like a couple targets a game. Over the ever since Heineke has become quarterback, he's only had a few targets per game.
Right. So that makes sense. I guess you could have him ranked a little bit higher, but I just think maybe it's just the weirdness of the week. Having Terry McLaurin at 8 feels wrong, especially over guys like, for me, T. Higgins, Chris Olave. I kind of like them more just for their floor, because if this Washington offense, if it goes ground heavy, which it very well may against the Houston defense, it's terrible against the run. That might help Terry McLaurin's touchdown chances. But if he doesn't cash in that way, it could be a quiet day. Terry McLaurin's much better off now than he was a couple of weeks ago. I'm not saying that you can't rank him higher. 8 just feels a little high for me. Like I said, over T.
It does. Like the number looks high. I agree. And the thing with T. Higgins too, it's like I love T. Higgins, but he hasn't gotten the target share that I was hoping that he would get, without Jamar Chase.
Right.
And he does have I think T. Higgins has a good matchup this week too. So I could totally see playing T. Higgins over McLaurin, probably more reliable, I would say. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I'm playing Chris Olave over McLaurin. I think Chris Olave, he's a very solid receiver. He's been getting it done, but he hasn't shown the upside in a while. So I don't think I can play him over McLaurin.
He's had a floor. Yeah, he's had a floor.
He's had a floor.
I forget. I think it was on the Fantasy Football Today podcast. They talked about it. He just had his first single-digit performance since week 1, 2.
Right.
Up until then, he had a really nice double-digit fantasy floor. And maybe we're running out of juice. Maybe the gas tank on Andy Dalton, it's running on fumes.
That's what it seems like. Yeah,
he's playing. Maybe one more bad outing, I feel like we're going to see Jameis Winston, or maybe even a bad half. Maybe we see Jameis Winston come in.
I don't even know if we're going to see Jameis Winston, man, because apparently he's not healthy. Like, why would?
How is he not healthy? He's been riding the bench.
I agree with you, but why would his coach say that he's not healthy and he's not sure if he'll be healthy all year long? He just said that this week. That was part of the reasoning why they're going with Andy Dalton this week. So, if they pull Andy Dalton at halftime and they bring Jameis Winston in, what are you talking about? Why are you talking about Jameis Winston's health as being a factor? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you're going to pull him at the half, you might as well have made that decision before. But
yeah,
this head coach is making some interesting moves. He's if you ask Saints fans, they're not too happy with their head coach right now.
No. But with Chris Olave, he had a nice floor. It just seems like he looked quarterback proof for a lot of weeks. And, maybe it's just a bad week. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt the way he's been playing. He's obviously talented. The quarterback situation just is not ideal. But having Jarvis Landry back in the lineup seems to have influenced the way the targets are distributed a little bit more than I would have liked.
Look at his fantasy outings over his past 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
17 points against Arizona, 10.2 against Vegas, 13.1 against Baltimore, 7 last week against Pittsburgh.
In what was a pretty good matchup against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I don't, for me, it's like I'm going to play McLaurin over him for sure. Because he has a much higher upside, and he's outscored him in 3 or 4 of those games.
All right, I see where you're coming from. I'm not.
I beat a dead horse here.
I personally, like I said, don't agree. But
who would you go with? Would you go with Olave or McLaurin?
I would put Olave. I think.
Okay.
My receivers, I said I would put over him. I think I said it would be.
How about these other guys here between 11 and 20? Any of these other? We're showing 11 through 29. Any of these other guys that you see you would play over him?
Amari Cooper
this week.
Yeah, Amari Cooper. I want to roll the dice.
Who I have way down.
Yes, I see he's at 20. I want to roll the dice and say that neutral site. Maybe we see a pretty good Amari Cooper. It's not going to be in 6 feet of snow, thank God. It's going to be ideal conditions for football. I think that even though it's a tough matchup, if they're going to be throwing the ball, it's going to be going to Amari Cooper. So I think that he could have a day at least similar to Terry McLaurin.
I have a Devontae Smith at number 11 here, but I'm actually going to switch it. I'm going to play Rondale Moore over Devontae Smith this week, especially in full PPR. Devontae Smith has also been like a low depth of target guy lately. We've seen games where he's been targeted downfield, but it doesn't happen too often. But now with Dallas Goedert out, you got to upgrade Devontae Smith. But San Francisco has been one of the worst teams against slot wide receivers, so I'm going to go Rondale Moore over Devontae Smith there. And then I have Jacoby Myers against the Jets, who also have a vulnerable slot defense. The last time these guys played each other, Jacoby Myers went off.
Yeah. And Jacoby Myers, like I said, I don't think his name value equates to what he's given fantasy managers this season. He's been very good. He doesn't really leave you out to dry. He had a quiet week going into the bye, I think. I forget exactly what his output was. But prior to that, he was averaging a really healthy amount. I think it was like 15 points a game. So for a guy that was going undrafted, I know because I picked him up in the last round of my draft, he's returned really well. And he's actually a fantasy relevant wide receiver on the Patriots offense that I didn't really think that was possible, especially with them picking up Devontae Parker. I thought that he had that one big game, Devontae Parker did, but I didn't think it was really possible to have that, a clear wide receiver one. That's Jacoby Myers.
Amari Cooper does look really low.
Yeah.
Alias is saying, wow, Amari Cooper does look low. I have him at 20 here, which is probably low. So I'm with you guys. I think, I was a little too hungover this morning. So Amari Cooper probably needs to be higher. But here, the guys that I would play over Amari Cooper, I would play Rondale Moore over Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
I would play Jacoby Myers this week over Amari Cooper.
That's like my borderline. Yeah.
Alan Lazard should not be here at number 14. That was locked in. I'm not sure. I should have moved that. I did not want him at 14. I don't know why he's here. I don't know what happened. But Alan Lazard, I would have had him under Christian Watson, right behind Kadarius Toney. That's where I would have had him. I'm not sure why he's showing up at number 14 there. But Brandon Aiyuk at number 15, I have him ranked over Debo. Because at the end of the day, Brandon Aiyuk is playing wide receiver, and Debo Samuel is being forced to play wide receiver. And right now, Aiyuk is being favored by Jimmy, and he's the one who's getting it done, and he's the one who's averaging more fantasy points per game at this point.
Yeah, and it was a really bad drop in the end zone. I don't know if you watched the game last week.
I saw that. Yep.
He could have had a much bigger day. Granted, it was just one touchdown catch, but that would have made a big difference in terms of his stat line, what it looks like, because he's been on a tear recently and he kind of cooled down. But the target share has been there. He's getting pretty much the targets, the lead, the lion's share of targets in this offense. And I didn't really think that was possible. I thought Debo Samuel, coming back, he'd be playing and getting the targets that he's supposed to. But I don't have a problem with it either. Brandon Ayuk's doing his thing. You can't really trust either of these guys to have like wide receiver one upside. At this point, Debo Samuel has kind of fallen out of that, I think, at this point. And Brandon Aiyuk, just because of Debo Samuel and George Kittle in this offense, and Christian McCaffrey now and Elijah Mitchell, they They have a bunch of weapons. None of these guys are going to be, perfectly reliable week to week, but any of them can have a good day, for you any given week.
I agree. Tyler Boyd too. Like, I'm playing him as a wide receiver too over Amari Cooper, because of the fact that there's no Jamar Chase, and I think that these guys are going to get their targets, especially against Pittsburgh, who has been very vulnerable against slot wide receivers as well. Yeah. Looking at it right now, Pittsburgh has given up the 4th most fantasy points to slot wide receivers this year. So I really like Tyler Boyd in this matchup. So yeah, I'm playing him over. I love how we're just comparing everyone to Amari Cooper at this point.
Yeah.
Playing him against I might play Amari over Debo.
Yeah, we got to find a home for Amari Cooper in these rankings. That's what it is.
Yeah, we do. We got to move Allen Lazard out of this top 20. I think Allen Lazard, actually, no, I would have put him at maybe 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. You guys figure it out. Amari Cooper over Debo, under Tyler Boyd, and Courtland Sutton. Who are you playing, Courtland Sutton or Amari Cooper without Jerry Jeudy?
That's so tough. I mean, I would have to go. I think I would go with Amari Cooper, and it's close. I think they'd be back-to-back for my rankings.
Got it. Okay, so here we go.
They're very close.
This is what we're doing. We so for everyone who's listening to the podcast, they have no idea what the hell's going on right now. They're just like, yo, what are your rankings? I don't know. So let's do this. I'll go through the top 10 real quick again for everybody listening. Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb. That's the top 5. Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Chris Olave. That's the 6 through 10 right there. At number 11, we're going to have Rondell Moore. Okay.
Right.
At number 12, we're going to have Jacoby Myers. At number 13, we're going to have Amari Cooper. At number 14, we're going to have Brandon Aiyuk. Then we're going to have at 16, Tyler Boyd, followed by Deebo Samuel, followed by Courtland Sutton, followed by Michael Pittman. Sounds good? Okay.
All right.
What about Courtland Sutton though? I asked you that again. So how are you feeling about Courtland Sutton this week? Obviously, we talked about him a little bit earlier, but do you think you'll be playing him as a top 20 wide receiver and expecting that? Are you playing him with confidence this week without Jerry Jeudy and a couple of other injuries to that Broncos wide receiver core?
Would I be playing him with confidence? I feel like you have to at this point. There's nobody else in that offense. I mean, Greg Dulcich, you could say is, a competitor for targets, but he kind of cooled off last week. The ball has to go to somebody. And the Raiders defense is not very good. We've seen them give up a lot of points. This could be the type of game that the Broncos need to kind of get the offense back on track. It hasn't been on track all season, but Courtland Sutton, he's a good receiver. It's just with Jerry Jeudy there, he wasn't getting the opportunity. Now he's in line for more opportunity. I think he can get back. He can get back to having that safe floor that he had earlier this season. Would I be starting him as a top 20? No. With confidence, I would start him with confidence that he can, perform admirably. I think top 24. He's a low end wide receiver too for me. That's right. That's how I would start him.
I hear that. And maybe, I have Paris Campbell too low, right? I have Paris Campbell at 21. Who are you starting between Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell?
I love Michael Pittman, but I think I would have to start Paris Campbell the way things have been going with Matt Ryan at quarterback. Matt Ryan has shown a little favoritism, towards Paris Campbell over Michael Pittman. So
Paris Campbell has been just doing more with it. Both of these guys had a high target share last week, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, I think they had the same number of targets. They both had 9 targets last week for 33% target share. Paris Campbell just ended up doing more with it, scoring the touchdown. He's been the one scoring touchdowns lately. I like Michael Pittman, but yeah, Paris Campbell not seeing the shadow coverage, maybe out of the slot, maybe that's where you want to go. So I can see playing Paris Campbell over Michael Pittman at this point, especially given how he's been performing. This is where I would have had Christian Watson at 22 here. He obviously did his thing last night. Kadarius Toney, I have him at 23. I think you could play him, and he's one of the most exciting starts. If you have him in your lineup this week, you're rubbing your hands. You can't wait to see what he's going to do this week, right? Without Juju, without Mecole Hardman, and it's exciting. I know I'm excited to watch him play in an expanded role. I would expect his snaps to go up this week against the Chargers in a good matchup.
Yeah, I think Kadarius Toney is going to have a huge game, and that's just because not just because of the injuries, but also because, I feel like this has been coming for him since he joined the Chiefs. I feel like, at some point he's got to work his way in this offense for majority of the snaps. He's going to get a good number of snaps, much more than he got the past 2 weeks. This is a pretty bad Chargers defense. It's pretty bad. So I think that they can get things done with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. It's always high scoring. If Kadarius Toney doesn't score a touchdown, I think I would be disappointed.
We got Darnell Mooney here at number 24 against Atlanta. Guys, like if you like to bet player props, like bet the over on Darnell Mooney. Like I think his player prop is at like 43.5. So yeah, go for that against Atlanta. Atlanta's been one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. Darnell Mooney should get it done. He doesn't have the ceiling that a lot of these other wide receivers have, just because the way the offense operates. But he'll probably give you a pretty solid floor this week. And I have Gabe Davis right behind him, and like he's literally the opposite player. Like he's only ceiling. What was pretty encouraging though, like last week he saw a bunch of targets. He had a bunch of production, and that target share, over the last couple of weeks has started to go up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, did he have 10 targets last week?
Gabriel Davis, 9 catchable targets, 23% target share, which is solid. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he had double digit target. So yeah, okay. No, it was just 1 week. I thought it was 2. So it's only 1 week where he ended up seeing the targets. And the week before that, actually, yeah, in week 8 and week 10, he had a high target share. So in week 8, he had 30% target share. And then in week 10, he had 23% target share. So that's pretty good. That's what you want to see, if you have Gabe Davis, because now he can become a little bit more reliable and not just dependent on that big play.
Yeah, things are trending in the right direction in terms of target share for Gabe Davis. Much better than they looked, at the beginning of the season, where he wasn't getting many targets at all. He has 2 straight matchups. The Bills, I think it's funny, they got relocated to Detroit, and then they're going to go back to Detroit on Thursday.
They should just stay there
for the Thanksgiving game. You know what I'm saying?
Can they just stay there? Like
I don't know. It would be dumb to fly them back and forth, but maybe they have plans.
Especially with the weather. Like, is the weather like? Are they even going to be able to fly back into Buffalo on Sunday?
Yeah,
so I don't know if that's going to be possible.
This game will be like the tune-up for hopefully a Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The Bills are having a hard time leaving Buffalo right now.
Yeah, well, you figure. I think didn't they say that they're predicting, like, not predicting, but
they
they're
were
calling
supposed
for
to leave. Like they a lot of people were saying like, oh, you should have left already. But now the Bills are having a tough time even leaving.
They have to drive down the highway.
They they can't drive right now. They should have drove, because if you could actually go from Buffalo to Detroit in 4 hours if you go through Canada.
Yeah,
like if you
I saw that.
Yeah, 4 hours. It's a 4-hour drive. So, but the fact that Josina Anderson 3 hours ago, she tweeted out, she had a league source on the Bills. This is a major impact. There's currently a travel ban. Still waiting to hear on timing of today's Zoom meeting. Snow is coming down hard right now. I don't know what the contingency is if everyone can't make it to the airport or we can't fly out. So, not really sure what they're doing. I'm not sure if there's going to be an update after that.
You can't fly in, so the Browns obviously aren't going there. The Bills can't get out. There's got to be a window, right? I know that this lake effect snow is a different animal than what we see. But,
I know.
I'm not sure.
The Bills beat reporter Sal Capaccio, who I talked to on Bills radio last week, he's going to be on Pat McAfee's show at 1:00, and he's going to probably put some more details out there in terms of what they're going to do.
Right.
So, if you're worried about this Bills game, you might want to tune in to Pat McAfee right after this.
It's not even possible. Like, they can't even move the game because they have that Thursday game in Detroit. It's they ruled that out before they even decided to move the game. They said, we can't move the time. I mean, maybe you can move the time of day, but you can't move the day of the game. It's not going to move up, and you can't move it back. Like, this is pretty tough, logistically. I hope the game goes on. It should.
We'll see.
I don't see a situation where they don't get out. I feel like there's got to be a window at some point where they can get out, but you never know. They were calling for Go ahead.
I just see like a Game of Thrones type of situation. Like what I just pictured in my head was like all the players just walk. Like just walk to a neutral site. Like just walk towards the border and who are they playing at Cleveland, right? And like Cleveland will just like walk towards Buffalo, and they'll just like
meet in the middle.
Just meet in the middle somewhere and like just play on the field. That's what they got to do.
That's what
Game of Thrones, White Walker style.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, DJ Moore, I have him at 26, but we have Mike Williams at 27, Keenan Allen at 28. I'm thinking with you, Zach. I think I'm playing both these guys over DJ Moore.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield against Baltimore. No, I don't like that recipe.
Let's just remove DJ Moore from the rankings. Just bench him. Yeah. Should we do that? Are we just benching DJ Moore this week? Straight up.
There's so many guys that play over him. He feels like he's just a bench at this point. You know, like
bench.
There's a better. The hard B. That was him hitting the bench.
All right, cool. All right, so that sounds good. So
it's nothing personal. Nothing personal, DJ Moore. He's just in a terrible situation.
We're not talking shit about you. We're just talking shit about your quarterback.
Yeah, and this is just the situation in general. It's a tough matchup against Baltimore. They're going to get smoked.
Deontay Johnson against Cincinnati. Have him at 29 here. Solid PPR floor, but hasn't shown any sort of upside at all. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones against Buffalo. You playing Donovan Peoples-Jones or Deontay Johnson?
Peoples-Jones. Yep.
Yeah.
Which
I think you're right. So weird.
Switch that. Yeah.
So weird.
All
Not only Peoples-Jones at 29, I'm sorry. And then Deontay at 30.
Yeah, it looks weird. Just looking at the ranking graphic that we have already looks weird. Now we're moving it around. Like you want to talk
we
about
should compare this to week 1 and like see or week like 3.
Or the amount of players that we're missing.
Or just how different it looks.
Yeah, well consider, okay, so the Dolphins are on bye. The Seahawks are on bye. That's 4 receivers right there. They're usually in the top 20. You know, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Who else is on bye? Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they're gone.
Yep.
2 mainstays from there. Jamar Chase is out. You know, he's been out for a little bit, but, you know, we can still count him. We can lump him in with that. Who else is on bye? I know there's someone I'm missing.
Oh, and the Jaguars.
Christian Kirk, he's gone.
Christian Kirk.
Yep. He's not in these rankings.
Exactly. So
there's a lot
6-7 guys right there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot missing. And you know, it's funny because we could be missing Mike Williams and Keenan Allen too. Like you never know.
Yeah. When I sent these rankings to Zach this morning, Zach was looking at it. He's like, Terry McLaurin, number 8. What is wrong with you? I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. Please just look this over. Having a rough morning here. All right, let's move on to
send it.
All right, week 11. Let's go into our tight end rankings for week 11. Travis Kelce at number 1, Mark Andrews at number 2. We don't know like if Mark Andrews is going to play straight up. Like he's got a limited practices in, but it's been like super mysterious around like with the way he's been practicing. So, you know, if he doesn't play, just slide in Isaiah Likely. I know Isaiah Likely didn't have like the best game the last time Andrews missed, but it was against the Saints, tough matchup. He still caught a tight end. He still caught a touchdown though, so still very viable. Zach would play over TJ Hawkinson, who I have at number 3 here.
Yeah, that's what I would do personally. But that's just me because I think Isaiah Likely is that talent. You know, like I said, I call him the tight end handcuff for a reason. I think he could slide in and have a nice. I think he's a higher upside than TJ Hawkinson because there's a bunch of other weapons. You know, Dalvin Cook could have a big day. Dallas's defense has been vulnerable against the run. Justin Jefferson's a monster. We just saw Christian Watson destroy the rookie backup for Dallas because they don't have anybody else to start. They're thin at corner. So TJ Hawkinson, he could have a good day, but I think, you know, Isaiah Likely's upside would be a little bit higher if he played. It's funny because he caught 1 pass last week. Isaiah Likely, he finished as a tight end 9 on the week. It's a tight end 1 performance on 1 catch. That tells you what you need to know about this tight end landscape. It's bad. So like to say that it's like if it might seem a little aggressive to say just put Isaiah Likely right where Mark Andrews was, but if Travis Kelce's a tight end 1, Mark Andrews probably be the tight end 2. And if he doesn't play Isaiah Likely, you know, he's going to finish right in that range if he gets more than 1 catch, I think.
I hear that, man. Okay, so Hawkinson at 3 because he's been getting the target share ever since he landed in Minnesota. Yeah. They're at home against Dallas. I still think he's going to get the targets. George Kittle at Arizona. This is a really, really good matchup for tight ends. So, you know, Kittle is obviously in your lineup. Dalton Schultz against Minnesota. He's gotten the targets, you know, last week out of the bye, getting the targets, you know, right behind CeeDee Lamb. So against Minnesota, I feel like he could have a big game.
Yeah. Dalton Schultz, and this is all you need to know. The only question you have to ask when you're saying, should I start Dalton Schultz is Dak Prescott playing? If yes, you're starting him. If not, you don't. Like, that's just how it goes.
He had a 23% target share last week. So,
yeah,
pretty legit.
And that was with CeeDee Lamb, having a huge game too. So it's clearly CeeDee Lamb and then Dalton Schultz in that order, the pecking order, as far as where targets are going in the Cowboys offense.
So, and I don't know if it was just me, but he looked better. Like he looked a little healthier last week than he did the weeks before. Like the weeks before, he looked like he was an old man hobbling on the field.
Jason Witten. Yeah, he was giving me
at the end of his career type of thing.
Yeah.
Nah.
And
he looked better.
The thing about Dalton Schultz is he doesn't do much outside, the catch, after the catch. He catches it and he kind of sits down. One of the staple route that they run with Dalton Schultz is 7 yards and turnaround, just right in the middle of the field. And Dak hits that 3 or 4 times a game. So
yeah,
he has a nice floor, especially with the tight end position the way it is.
Pat Freiermuth got a huge target share in his first game without Chase Claypool, so continue to start him, as one of your every week tight ends. Cole Kmet at Atlanta, he's caught 5 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. Let's see if he continues. If you had to bet on him scoring this week, and it's funny the way I look at it, it's like, well, if a player scored a ton over the last couple of weeks, like the odds are that he's not going to score this week, right? So it's like I always think about it from like a math perspective and like a statistical perspective. But you got to keep rolling with him, right?
Yep, you have to. And just the way that Justin Fields is playing, it's not just Cole Kmet. It's not like he just had one good week and that's it. He's had a couple of good weeks, and Justin Fields is looking for him in the end zone, and that's what you want. And with Justin Fields doing his thing, you can't not start him. And that's why Darnell Mooney, I think, is a little bit higher in the rankings too. As long as Justin Fields playing the way he is, there's going to be good quality targets going around. And Cole Kmet, and we keep going back to this. You can say every single time, once you get out of this top 10 range, it's really bad, but the tight end landscape is barren. And if you're going to start somebody, Cole Kmet, you want to go for upside. It's one thing to say statistically, it's not going to continue these touchdowns, but then it's also like, would you bet on the touchdowns not continuing or just relatively decent production continuing for Cole Kmet? I'd take relatively decent production, and that's why he's ranked at 7-4.
He had 100% of the end zone targets last week, 33% of them the week before, and then 50% of those end zone targets the week before that. So Justin Fields is definitely looking at him in the end zone for sure.
Yeah.
Gerald Everett against KC. I think I would have ranked Everett a little bit higher, maybe above Kmet, maybe above Freiermuth. Actually, I don't know. Well,
no.
Because of the matchup against KC. The only reason why I didn't, honestly, is because he's a little bit banged up right now. And he's been limited in practice, so he's not 100%. I don't know how much he's going to play in this game. So he's a little bit iffy to me this week. If you don't want to take any risks, I might start Greg Dulcich, who I have at number 9 over him this week without Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Gerald Everett, I wasn't exactly sure. I have him in a league or two, and I'm not starting him this week. So
who are you starting over him?
Who am I starting over him? Well, as punishment for taking Kyle Pitts. I saw this. Somebody posted this. As someone, I forget who said it. I took Kyle Pitts, so as punishment, I'm starting him every week. I'm starting Kyle Pitts over him. But I think Greg Dulcich I would start over him this week. Maybe even Tyler Higbee. Just because Cooper Kupp's out, I wonder what his target share is going to look like.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what that looks like. I have Dulcich and Higbee in the league that we're in together. I have both of them, and I'm trying to figure out, A, who to start this week, and B, who is going to be my guy moving forward, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to depend on one guy, who is that going to be? And I'm really, with Higbee, he got the targets last week, and that's great. But it's because he was targeted at a very high rate per route run. His route participation still isn't where you want it to be. It was at 59% in week 10, and then 61% in week 9, which is not good. Like, you want it to be 80% or higher for sustainability. And for those, he was targeted on 31% of his routes last week, and he was targeted at 40% of his routes like 2 weeks ago, but only 39% route participation. So, like, when he's running routes, he is going to be targeted. However, will he be targeted? Will he be running routes? That's my only question. And, I guess the assumption can be with Cooper Kupp out that he's going to be dependent on in the pass game.
Yeah. They're going to have to cater to Cooper Kupp being out. And that Tyler Higbee, Matthew Stafford, if he's playing this week, which he should, right? I think he's supposed to play this week.
Yeah, he's ready to play. He's good. I think he's out of the concussion protocol.
Yeah. Matthew Stafford has looked to Tyler Higbee, in the past. He's inflated his target numbers a lot this season. Earlier in the first 5 weeks, he went 11, 9, 4, 14, 10 targets. So, he'll have volume. I think with Cooper Kupp out, that only solidifies it. I think.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup in New Orleans. They've been holding tight ends down pretty well, but the way Higbee runs routes, it's a little bit different. Like he gets screens, like he gets targeted near the line of scrimmage.
He gets screens a lot. I did notice that. You're right.
Yeah, and he it's not like he's running routes like down the middle all the time where he's being targeted. That's not really how they use him a whole lot. So not really overvaluing that matchup too much. The difficulty of that matchup too much.
Sure.
I got Kyle Pitts at number 11 here. Who are you playing Kyle Pitts over? Who I have in the first slide here?
I don't think I would. Anyway,
okay,
I'm forcing myself to start Kyle Pitts over Gerald Everett just because of the injury. I'm not sure if that's going to be good enough.
Makes sense.
That's what I would do. But this is crapshoot range, and it's funny because Kyle Pitts is the beginning of crapshoot range. It's just bad at this point. Yeah,
it is. David Njoku might be back this week. He's been practicing and he's been talking about coming back. And I would, if he comes back, like I'm okay starting him even against Buffalo. And I'm happy starting him. I'm happy getting him back, especially given the tight end wasteland that we've been dealing with here.
Yeah, 100%. Remember, he's one of the most athletic tight ends.
And remember, like he was getting it done for you, right? Early on in the season, like he was one of the top 5 or 6 tight ends getting it done every single week. Foster Moreau, decent matchup against Denver. Denver, does defend wide receivers really well, but they don't defend tight ends very well. So Moreau can have a good game. His route participation is like ridiculous. He's been running a route on 91%, 88%, and 95% of dropbacks over the last 3 weeks. Unfortunately, that hasn't amounted to like a whole lot of production, but he's at least he caught a couple touchdowns, and he could do that for you. So he's viable, I would say. And I think that's about it after this. Oh, no. Robert Tonyan, I had him. I like the matchup. That didn't work out so well. But Trey McBride against San Francisco, this is a tough matchup for him in his first game. However, the Cardinals do run a lot of routes. Who knows if they're going to have Kyler Murray? That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Cardinals do. Yes, the Cardinals run a lot of routes, but I meant they run a lot of pass plays, and they run a lot of plays in general. So that's why I like McBride going forward rest of season. But this week might be a little bit tough.
Yeah. Don't evaluate Trey McBride's performance this week because, like you said, it's against San Francisco, and they might not have their quarterback. They might have their second string quarterback. They should probably have one of them. I'm willing to bet. But it's just not looking like it's going to pan out for McBride this week, especially with, Rondo Moore's going to be in that offense. James Conner might get a heavier dose. They might just ease him in. Zach Ertz, he's been a middle-of-the-pack fantasy tight end, but that's pretty much all you can ask for in terms of middle of the pack in terms of production. He's not like, huge production, but he's had a nice floor for you. But you can't judge Trey McBride. You can't expect him to fill those shoes that quickly, especially against a good defense.
And we got Hayden Hurst here at number 16. Would you play Hayden Hurst over McBride?
That's a decision I'm making right now in our league. And I think I am. Just given the circumstances surrounding Trey McBride, Hayden Hurst, I think I'd start him, especially with Jamar Chase out. He might have a little bit more upside than he would with Jamar Chase in. There's still he would be benefiting from that this week. So I would start Hayden Hurst.
And then Tyler Conklin, with him, it's a little weird because the Jets, we don't know how Zabby in the comments is asking, what is Goddard's injury status? He's on IR right now, so he's not going to play for a while. But Tyler Conklin, his route participation actually went up recently. I don't know what they're going to do out of the bye. That's my only concern with him. But over the last 3 weeks, 76%, 72%, 79% route participation, which is great. And he's been getting targeted. However, that's also coincided with the Rondale Moore doghouse situation. So I'm sorry, Elijah Moore doghouse situation. So if Elijah Moore comes back in and he starts playing the slot and they go a lot more 11 personnel, I'm not sure if they're going to be running a lot of routes or if they're going to be allowing Conklin to run a lot of routes.
Do you think the Elijah Moore doghouse situation is going to be over? I think it's just.
By the way, Zach, like I'm barely making it out of this podcast. Like as soon as the podcast is over, like I'm going to be like, just like wiping the sweat off my face. Like, whoo, we made it.
Sweat on your brow. Whew.
We did.
Anyway, maybe we just give him the rundown on these last few guys because probably not a lot of people are making these.
That's decisions. It, really. Taysom Hill at 18. Who knows what's happening with him? Maybe given the quarterback situations, maybe he comes in more. Right, and plays a little bit more, maybe in the red zone packages. Who knows? And then Dawson Knox and Juwan Johnson are my last 2 guys here. And that's it. We did it.
We made
we
it.
did it, Zach.
We got 20 seconds to keep it under an hour.
Let's go. We're going to. I'm going to be going live on Sunday morning. Answering a ton of start-sit questions, starting at 10:30 Eastern time over on Instagram. I'll be going live with Lord Don't Lose, Lawrence Jackson, who is on NBC Sports with Matthew Berry on Wednesdays. Check out Lawrence there. But also, we're going to be going live with Uncovered NFL at 11. It was a big Instagram NFL account on big NFL Instagram account. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
And then catch the Blitz at 11:30. You got to check them out. And then at noon, going live with a bunch of other Instagram accounts, fantasy football Instagram accounts. So we have plenty of opportunity to do that and answer all your questions. If you want the full set of rankings, they're going to be up later today on my Patreon. Just click the link in the description of either the YouTube or the podcast description, and you'll see it there. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Appreciate you dealing with me during this particular episode. And thanks for listening, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Sunday. See you guys later. Bye-bye.